Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Welcome back to the Maverick News Channel, everyone. What is going on? I don't know. Well, I think I do know. Is a ground invasion imminent in Iran? I set the thumbnail up not very long ago for the main channels for tonight's broadcast with that headline, only to then learn that Trump really is serious about, or is he, about pausing attacks until next month. So it appears maybe a ground invasion isn't imminent, yet the buildup continues, the conflict continues. More importantly, I think tonight, the confusion continues, and that is a big part of the story. So confusing is it that I wasn't sure we should even cover the confusion because I don't want to be manipulated. And yet we're all being manipulated. I'll explain what that is all about. We'll also give you the most up-to-date information on the Maduro trial because that's happening. And because of that, there was chaos outside the courthouse. And then you have to wait until the very end of the broadcast tonight. I mean, to the very last frame of video for clarity on all of this. Because one of our regular viewers sent me something last night, a message, which led me to some poetry, which led me to today, which led me to the chaos, which led me to images, which led me to Photoshop, which led me to the poetry again, which led me back to this broadcast and the end, where I think I can provide some clarity to something that is very out of focus. But you have to wait until the very end because it's all set to go and it explains everything. So stay with me. I won't make it a long broadcast tonight. We'll keep it as brief as we can so that we can basically get to the punchline, if you want to call it that. Clarity in the last image of tonight's Maverick News presentation. Stay with me. We will be right back.
Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News isn't just a news outlet, it's a community of truth seekers. Your donation at freedomreporters.com fuels our mission to report the stories that mainstream media won't touch. Thank you, Maverick family.
It is just chaos, confusion. Trump's strategy, as always, is to not have a strategy, which creates chaos, which creates a situation where you don't know what he's going to do. That's, I think, his strategy. Well, deadline after deadline, we're about between deadlines. So now there's a new deadline of, I believe, April 6th that he says he's going to hold off on more attacks so they can negotiate. But then we're getting stuff like this on Fox News.
They then named another one. We knocked them out, and we knocked out part of the third group. And we're just holding for the rest. We know where they all are. And it's one country that does not want to be. You have very few people want to be the leader. You know, everyone wants to be president of the United States. Everyone wants to be president or whatever, prime minister of a certain country. There are not a lot of takers to be the head of Iran right now. I will tell you, they're all fighting not to. We don't want that position. But they asked me if they would, Kaylee, importantly, they said to me, very nicely, through my people, could we have more time? Because we're talking about tomorrow night, which is pretty out. They then named another one.
So that's what he's saying. Who knows what the truth is? I think maybe that's part of the strategy, too. Here's Russia's foreign minister tonight, Sergei Lavrov, saying whenever the U.S. gets involved in anything, things get worse. His words, not mine.
И мы неоднократно
Probably cannot be approved of, and we repeatedly sent a signal to the United States. He says that it would be advisable to establish some kind of dialogue to resolve all the problems in the Persian Gulf and the Middle East region as a whole, where every time the United States and its allies interfere in the processes, the situation becomes increasingly depressing. Iraq is destroyed, Syria is destroyed, Libya is destroyed. By the way, it is unknown when Libya will be put back together. The same thing is now happening with the Islamic Republic of Iran. Moreover, this is the second time in a row that an attack on Iran has occurred. The aggression begins in the midst of negotiations. Exactly. I have to agree with that. And we have repeatedly sent a signal to the United States that it would be advisable to establish some kind of dialogue to resolve all the issues in the Persian Gulf and the Middle East. Oh, yeah. Well, that is what happened during the last set of negotiations. Trump sucker punched them and said they had to do that because they wanted to take them by surprise before they responded to an Israeli attack that they knew was going to come. And because Israel was going to attack, then they had to attack Iran first, because if they didn't, Iran would attack the United States because Israel attacked, and so they didn't have any choice. Or something like that. But I thought it had something to do with nuclear weapons and oh my goodness, we're going to come back to all of that in a moment too. Let's just pivot away from this for a moment, okay? Because we also have this trial with Nicolas Maduro. He returned to federal court today, and he was there with his wife, appearing before U.S. District Judge Alvin Hellerstein. Their lawyers asked the judge to throw out the entire case, arguing that U.S. sanctions are blocking Venezuelan government funds needed to pay their legal defense, claiming it violates their right to counsel. Judge Hellerstein rejected that request. He then ruled the case will move forward. No trial date has been set, but both defendants remain in custody at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. They pleaded not guilty back in January. The charges include narco-terrorism conspiracy, importing thousands of tons of cocaine into the United States, and weapons offenses. Maduro captured by U.S. forces in Caracas on January 3rd after he was ousted from power and brought to the United States to face justice. Now, outside the courthouse, small groups of supporters and opponents clashed today in protests, underscoring these deep divisions over Maduro's fall. We have video with, I think, both perspectives on these protests. This one is, I believe these are anti-Maduro protesters, and you're going to see a guy punching an effigy of Nicolas Maduro in the head. Oh, poked him in the eye. Oh, poked him in the eye again. And strangling him or holding him up, putting a chain around him. Oh, yeah. Okay. Hanging him from a tree, the effigy of Nicolas Maduro. But wait, there's more. Wait. We have these people who are furious about the capture of Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro and his wife. This is on the other side. The clash continues.
El egoísmo que otra vez triunfó. El egoísmo que otra vez triunfó. Hoy el bravo pueblo que nunca la respetando la virtud y honor.
¿Y qué decimos? ¡Cadena perpetua!
Yeah. Welcome to Venezuela. To New York. So I believe the next hearing date is March. No. I don't think we've got it. No, we don't have that date set yet. Okay. So that's where we stand so far with that. Yeah, so again, after today's court proceedings, the hearing focused solely on the defense funding, and the judge kept the indictment intact. The trial itself has not actually started, and so we, as I say, just checking again, but no date announced for the beginning of the trial. So we'll keep checking in on that one over time. And all this going on, I believe the Canadian government has been investing in an ad campaign as well to attract more recruits for the Canadian military. I bring this up because this will relate to or connect to the end of the program. So here's this. Take the audio down, or we're going to get a copyright strike because that's copyrighted music. So yeah, one way or another, kind of, involved in everything Canada, focusing on building up the military because of everything Donald Trump is doing, and these changing relationships between even allies. Today, Mark Carney, as we segue from that promotional video, that ad campaign, to this, he announced today that Canada has is keeping its promise, has kept its promise to increase NATO spending, saying that they've met the target for this year. And here's Mark Carney.
The very nature of warfare is changing rapidly. It's driven by the proliferation of drones, autonomous systems, weapons in orbit. We know the world has changed, and we know that Canada must change with it. A little over a decade ago, in 2014, Canada's defense spending had fallen to just 1% of our GDP. Our military infrastructure and equipment had aged, hindering our military readiness. And that's why just 6 weeks after forming government, we announced ambitious plans to rebuild, rearm, and reinvest in the Canadian Armed Forces. Our core objective of that plan, not the only one, but a core objective, is to achieve NATO's 2% target this year. That's the highest level of defense spending relative to the size of our economy since the fall of the Berlin Wall. We embarked on this mission to protect Canadians, to defend our territory, to protect our borders, and to boost our sovereignty. Because nous sommes maîtres chez nous. We control our destiny. I am pleased to announce today that we have kept that ambitious promise. For the last 10 months, Canada's new government has been working with unprecedented speed and scale. In 10 months, we have invested over $60 billion in our defense and security. That's the largest year-on-year increase in defense investment in generations. And as a result of these efforts, this morning, NATO confirmed that Canada has achieved its 2% defense expenditure target, half a decade ahead of the original schedule. So the first time, as I said, since the fall of the Berlin Wall, we'll be spending that 2% of GDP on defense. Now, what is very encouraging is not just that Canadians recognize the need to reinforce our security, but Canadians are responding to our renewed commitment and to the call to serve, a call that the women and men here have already responded to. But since the summer of last year, since June, applications to join the Canadian Armed Forces are up 13%. Il faut le dire que l'objectif de 2% ne constitue pas un plafond pour les investissements du Canada dans le domaine de la défense.
And of course, a lot more is going to be spent, a lot more. Canadian government investing in infrastructure projects, nation-building projects, ramping up spending for all aspects of the military. This is to continue for many years into the future. Recently announcing as well that Canadian satellites will be launched low orbit for both security and communications. Announcing that a spaceport is going to be constructed in the Maritimes. Recruiting more people for the Canadian military. All allies shifting, pivoting because of one man, Donald Trump, and his administration, because they have changed their relationship with all of the allies, and so all of the other allied countries, NATO countries in particular, are adjusting. Where does that all take us? Some in Canada are saying that the Canadian government is actually preparing for a possible U.S. invasion of Canada. On the other end of the spectrum is some speculation that maybe we're recruiting these troops to join in on other military activities. Who knows where it's going to go? I'm not even sure Donald Trump knows where it's going to go, but it is pretty clear that he is looking for a way out of this trap that I think we are all falling into in the Middle East. One way or another, it affects us all. What is the price of oil tonight? Let's check it out. Because it's largely about that. that goes almost without saying. Is it up or down tonight? About the same, $93 for WTI crude. I can bring it up on the screen to show you the receipts. Oops. There we go. WTI crude, $93.32. Brent crude, $108. Murban crude, $111 a barrel. So, still high. Potentially going to get higher. And all kinds of rhetoric. We are in the fog of war. And it's affecting every level of government, every level of our society, at the local level, the provincial, state, federal. In Ontario, today a new budget filed and record spending announced because of the turbulence in the economy. Let me take a little break. We're going to come back on the other side. We'll continue and we'll show you how money ties into everything going on, both at home and abroad.
Greetings, brave mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Yes, so in Ontario government has a projected deficit for the coming year that is about double what the provincial government was targeting or projecting. Now, instead of $7.8 billion, the deficit for the coming fiscal year, $13.8 billion. Finance Minister saying the last year has been marked by significant change in the world around us, and that is an understatement. He says geopolitical forces that may have once felt distant have now reached our shores. Global economic and trade tensions, supply chain disruptions, shifting markets. Simply put, the world has changed and we must change with it. So, this budget, which they titled A Plan to Protect Ontario, lays out a whole bunch of new spending on programs like home care, post-secondary education, but also includes billions of dollars for tax breaks, especially for buyers of new homes and for small businesses. Tax breaks, of course, will hopefully help first-time home buyers and younger people get into the home ownership club. So this is a $244 billion budget, and it includes $101 billion for healthcare, $40 billion for education, $14 billion for post-secondary education, and an even larger budget, well, a larger deficit rather, of $6.1 billion is also projected for next year. But the government says it does expect to return to a balanced budget, by 28, 29 in 2 years' time, with a small surplus of about $600 million. Yeah, well, we'll see. this really does, indicate that the economy has been hit pretty hard by tariffs, although maybe not as hard as some people were expecting, because the government and the economists employed by the provincial government are projecting sluggish growth in the interim, but growth none the same. And real GDP is expected to grow by about 1% over the next year, and maybe a little over 1%, 1.5%, maybe 1.8% over the year after that. But of course, those are all projections, and who knows what is to come on the tariff front. I believe we have a clip of the finance minister. Yeah, let's go to this. We've got a little clip, so we'll share it with you before we move on. It's provincial news. Maybe it doesn't seem relevant to people in other provinces or states tonight, but it is, because it's a reflection of what is going on, certainly across Canada and many parts of the U.S.
And thanks to the many advocates of Ontario's business community, like the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, we know just how impactful these savings are.
Tax
but
breaks.
At a time when the very heart of our economy is at stake, our government is stepping up to deliver even more. And so today, we are also announcing an historic tax cut for small business by lowering their tax rate by over 30%, from 3.2 to 2.2%.
Well, the studies show, and empirical evidence shows, that tax breaks can stimulate the economy. And sometimes governments even end up collecting more in tax revenue by cutting taxes, because with the growth in the economy, because of tax breaks, you end up with more economic activity and more people paying taxes on more transactions, so the government ends up with more in the government bank account, so they can waste all of that. We'll see where it goes. It's always all about the money, though, and tonight this one's pretty good. This is sweet. In how they say in God we trust? Well, what about in Trump we trust? Do I have the image? I think I do. I think it's still there. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, it's still there. Trump is putting his signature on money. American money, his signature. It's the only time, I believe, in history that a living president has done this. Here it is here. So yeah, he's adding his signature to the dollar for the 250th birthday of America, and his picture is going to be on it. And this is the first time ever that a sitting president will have his picture on current U.S. currency. I'm sure that it wasn't his idea or anything. Somebody surely just said, "Come on, Donald, let us do it." And he was, "Oh, come on, no. Oh, shucks. Well, okay." There it is. Interesting that I'm reading Mark Carney's book right now, and a lot of what he talks about is trust, confidence. That's really what supports any currency, any economy, even any government. It's trust and confidence. Trust that when you have a dollar, it will retain its value, that it will be stable. That's one of the reasons they put "In God We Trust" on some American money. And I don't know. Trump's meme coin, I don't know if I would invest in that. And now you've got Trump's picture on the money. And people say that, he's presenting himself as something of a deity. Now it isn't just, In God we trust. It's in Trump we trust. Yeah. Although, see, it's just a little bit different. If you have a monarchy and you have a member of the royal family on the money, that's something that represents stability because it is an institution. It is something that that transcends the person in the role, but the institution remains solid, unwavering, both systemically and I would say even ideologically. That's what is one of the things that provides stability for a country and its political system. In the United States, the president comes and goes, not a king, not royalty, there for maybe 4 years, maybe for 8. I suppose it can represent a moment in time, even in real time, but it is unprecedented. The president not supposed to influence what happens with the Federal Reserve, not supposed to have a direct hand in setting of interest rates. Arm's length to provide, to ensure. See, the point that I'm making is when you have a president who's actually a businessman who became president, was still with business interests, when you have someone in that role, you want to make sure that they're not manipulating anything. And that's one of the reasons you don't put their picture on the money, because they might have a conflict of interest, you see, because they're still participating in the economy, in the system, the same as just a regular citizen. It's just a little bit different. And this is very unprecedented. I have to think about it more. But yeah, this kind of blows my mind again. I don't think it's really proper. I just, do you really trust that guy? With all these accusations of corruption, market manipulation, and now they put his face on U.S. money. This is the Achilles heel that I think is about to be tapped by America's opponents. Trust. Trust in America, trust in the dollar, trust in the economy, in the stock market. The dollar connects to everything. What happens if he goes to jail later? Okay. Enough. Move on, Rick. Okay, let's move on. What will we talk about next? Well, how about reassurance from the vice president? Maybe he's a little more stable. Maybe he's an honest guy. Well, he's certainly scaring the hell out of people. Here he is talking about nuclear weapons, Iran, and gee, what would happen if Iran got their hands on a nuclear vest?
When I say options, I think it's important the American people know options for what? And it's options to ensure that Iran never has a nuclear weapon. You talk about people who walk into a crowded supermarket and have a vest on, and they blow up the vest and a couple of people get killed, and that's a terrible tragedy. What happens when what's on the vest is not something that can kill a couple of people, but can kill many, many tens of thousands of people? That is the most important American national security objective that exists for any administration at any time, is you don't want the worst people in the world to have a nuclear weapon. That's why the president is doing this. That's why the president cares so much about this particular issue. When I
Honestly, folks, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. I heard that and I thought, a nuclear vest. I don't think a nuclear vest exists. I don't know if it's even practical. I don't know if a device like that has even been developed. I had to go look it up, and everything I'm finding indicates it's not a real thing. Not yet. The technology isn't there. It's not a practical weapon. They'd be too big, too bulky, too heavy. You can't. It doesn't work. But there he is, providing Justification, manufacturing consent with the public, with a narrative like that, that'll work. That'll work. That'll scare the crap out of people. Why are we going to war? Why are we at war? Why? And I say we're tied in. We're not there, but the escalation is happening. You can see it. And it isn't just in Iran. It's in Ukraine. It's spilling out all around the world. You've got Cuba still under pressure. You've seen what happened in Venezuela. I don't know what the hell's going to go on in Greenland. I think maybe there's been enough pushback there to kind of extinguish that flame. But we shall see. Everything is still very unstable, very chaotic. Makes you wonder what's going on. Can you really see? Can you focus? Can you figure it out? Do you know why all of this is happening? Why? Why? That's the question everybody keeps asking. And some of this stuff doesn't make sense at all. I'm going to talk more about Mark Carney's book, too, because there's a portion in there where he talks about the financial system, certain aspects of, the way investments work. And he says if something doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. A lesson that he learned when he was young. And that much of the book is true. So in the nights ahead, maybe we'll talk more about that as well. I'm still not quite done, and I'm still digesting it all. But I'm seeing how everything in that book connects with values, which is a book that certainly his political opponents have tapped into to attack him and the liberals in general. But I see how it connects to everything going on today, even though it was written way back in, 2022. So stay tuned for that, because that's coming up in the nights ahead, too. It's a very strange time. All kinds of developments still out of the Middle East. Tonight, Israel saying that it has killed the naval chief of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. This is the naval chief who has been overseeing the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. Now, Iran has not immediately confirmed or denied the claim. Tehran has allegedly begun charging the few ships that are getting through a pretty hefty levy. Apparently, in some cases, like $1 million, I heard, for one vessel. So some are getting through, but they've basically set up a toll booth in the Strait of Hormuz. All this going on. Well, the president says that Iran is negotiating, even though Tehran is denying that the negotiations are going on. And then at that cabinet meeting today, earlier this morning, Pakistani flagged oil tankers, it was said, are being allowed through the strait as a present to Donald Trump. He may be delusional, I'm not sure which. Anyway, Pakistan's top diplomat said this morning that indirect talks are taking place between the U.S. and Iran. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas I can't pronounce the last name, and I do apologize. Arashi, I think is how you pronounce it. Anyway, said yesterday that, says, we do not plan on any negotiations. That's a direct quote. And all this happening while tonight, thousands more U.S. troops continue to make their way to the Middle East. Tensions flared at a Capitol Hill briefing as lawmakers expressed frustration that centered on the possibility of Trump sending in ground forces to escalate this conflict, this war with Iran even further. A war that initially people were saying, oh, it's not even a war, but it is a war. Over 3,000 people have been killed in this war that wasn't a war that is now a war across the Middle East. Now into the fourth week. This is the week that was supposed to be the week that marked the end of the war that wasn't a war that is now a war. And in Iran, Israeli and American strikes have killed 1,900 people, according to the Iranian deputy health minister. At least 1,000 people have been killed in Lebanon, and 18 have died in Israel, and 13 U.S. service members have also been killed. 2 others died of non-combat causes. Why? Why is all this happening? It's partly about oil, it's partly about money, it's partly about Donald Trump. I don't know. Is it about the nuclear weapons? They might have a nuclear vest that they would put on and come here and conduct an act of terror. I don't know. I don't think that actually exists at this point. Nothing I'm seeing indicates that that's an actual real thing. Was that an imminent threat? Well, someday they might get a nuke. Okay. Is that the standard by which we're now deciding whether we go to war with a country? They might get a nuclear suicide vest for terrorists? Maybe someday, possibly. Oh, better attack. And the play-by-play coverage, sports-style coverage, continues on all the mainstream media channels, and I would say also, especially on social media, where clicks are king.
Iranian missiles and drones are exploding this morning across the Middle East, including in the United Arab Emirates and in central Israel. Several missiles detonated and caused injuries. As the U.S. and Israel continue to attack Iran, gas prices are rising sharply worldwide, with Iran blocking oil through the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump says Iran is desperate for a deal.
They're afraid to say it because they figure they'll be killed by their own people. They're also afraid they'll be killed by us.
The U.S. has presented Iran a 15-point plan through Pakistan, the intermediary. According to Israel's public broadcaster, which says it reviewed a copy, the 15 points include that Iran have no nuclear weapons or uranium enrichment, no long-range missiles, no support for militant groups, and that Iran must open and keep open the Strait of Hormuz in exchange for sanctions relief and ending the war, which President Trump says he's avoiding calling a war because it could limit him legally.
They don't like the word war because you're supposed to get approval.
In Congress, Republicans and Democrats both complained of a lack of clarity about Trump's military plans and endgame following a closed-door briefing yesterday. While Iran's foreign minister says his country is not negotiating with the U.S., Iran has nonetheless responded to Trump's 15 points with its own demands, broadcast on Iranian TV. They include reparations for being attacked, recognition of Iran's sovereignty over Hormuz, and guarantees that Iran will not be attacked again, as more than 6,000 American ground troops, including Marines, sailors, and paratroopers, are en route to the region.
Israel's defense minister this morning said that Israeli forces have killed the head of Iran's naval brigade that is responsible for the Strait of Hormuz.
All right, Richard Engel for us there. Richard, thank you.
And here's how that meeting went. Here's a little bit with Scott Besson.
People, especially the Democrats, underestimate the will of the American people for short-term volatility, for 50 years of safety that we are going to have on the other side of this. And I believe energy prices will be lower, inflation will be lower before we had the appearance of security, which is not real security. Now, the American people and the world will have absolute security. Through your maximum pressure campaign, Treasury has worked to uncover all financial lifelines through the regime and cut them off. You gave that order last March. This was not something that happened overnight. This is something that has been contemplated for almost a year. The Iranian financial system collapsed in December. We have systematically weakened Iran's ability to fund operations and procure weapons, and that required months of preparations. Threats to American national security have no place in the global economic system.
So what did he say there? 50, did he say 50 months? Let me bring it back up.
Many people, especially the Democrats, underestimate the will of the American people for short-term volatility for 50 years of safety that we are going to have on the other side of this. And I believe
he didn't say 50.
Energy prices will be
okay. There was some other clip with him, I think it was yesterday, making reference to a specific timeline with regard to that. Let me check that, because that might actually be significant. Because that's the quote that I remember. I think he said, let me just check. Just checking.
Unknown caller.
No, he said what he said it was, he said roughly 50 days of higher prices for 50 years of no Iran nukes. 50 days, not 50 months. Thank God. So 50 days of higher prices. I knew I heard something with 50 in it. So I'm glad I was able to clarify that for you. 50 days of higher prices for 50 years of no Iran nukes. Something to that effect. So, but 50 days. So that's not 4 weeks. That's about 2 months. We're now into the 4th week. No end in sight unless something happens on the front with negotiations and diplomacy. But the way it's been going, all I'm seeing is more and more chaos through this whole thing. Yeah. And talk about chaos and confusion. Let's just pivot back to the White House, shall we? Because that's where all of this really takes us tonight. Have you seen the crazy stuff on the Twitter page? At first I was like, that's got to be the lead story. Then I thought, no, I'm not going to report on this tonight because I think he's just effing with our minds. And he's looking for attention, or at least the White House, the administration is. It's a great big mind F. Here, I'll show you. There have been a number of crazy posts since last night. Started overnight. Here's the most recent one, this pixelated photo. And like, what the hell are you posting that for? What is that all about? I have thoughts on it. And there were these videos as well. Okay, so let's go with this one first of all. Listen carefully. People freaking out over it.
It's launching soon, right? Yes. It's launching soon, right? Yes. It's launching soon.
It's launching soon, right? It's launching soon, right?
It's launching soon, right?
So, of course, some people freaking out saying, what are they talking about? What is that clip? What are they launching? Nukes? Well, of course, you could launch a lot of things. Some people saying that sounds like Caroline Bessette or Caroline Levitt in the background saying that. I'm not sure if that's who it is or not. A lot of speculation. It's just weird stuff. Why would that end up on the official White House Twitter account? Everyone's speculating and not really much information coming out of the White House. As far as I know tonight, still But the first video, that one I think has been scrubbed, erased. It's showing some woman's shoes. It was very strange. Now this one here, still up on the White House website. This one is like a black screen and a beeping sound, and there's one flash frame in it. If you look very closely, there's a flash frame, and in that flash frame, you can sort of get a glimpse of an American flag. This one's weird. Oh yeah, ding. That's what my phone does when I get a text message. When this video came on, I didn't know this. I thought my phone was binging. It's this stupid video. Why? 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 Is that freaking weird or what? It's weird. I'm sorry, it's just weird. And then this. Pixelated picture of, well, what is it? I know what it is. I looked at that and I said, you know, looks like Trump. How can you figure that out though? How do you know that's Trump? So what I did, I'll show you. Let's decode this together. I'll show you how I figured out what's actually in the picture. So all we got to do is open up just some sort of an image editor, okay? So we can do that. We can actually do it even right over here. I'll just go to this. We will capture this image. And we'll start here. We need to create. We'll do it together. We'll walk through it. Here's an image editor. We'll do it in Canva. Bring up Canva on the screen. Now I'm going to come back here, and I'm just going to copy this image. Paste it in here. There's a screenshot of the whole screen, okay? I'm just going to crop it. You might even be able to see it a little bit clearer just sitting there right like that. Okay? Now you want to see excuse me, what's in this image? You don't go this way. You go this way. Because what they've done is they've taken a photo, a low resolution image, very low, like below thumbnail resolution, and they've increased its size to expand the pixels, which turns it into something of a puzzle. Essentially, you can't see the forest for the trees because the pixels are too close and there are not enough of them. So there's not enough detail. You're seeing the pixels. In order to see the image, you would think you expand it and make it bigger to try and get a closer look at it. No, you have to go the other way. If you know anything about photography or digital imaging and editing, go this way. Because what it does is it actually smushes the pixels together, you see? And so your eye now puts all those pieces of the puzzle together. It's very, very small, but if you look, you can see that it's Trump at his desk. It appears he's at his desk, sitting in his chair with the American flag behind him, and he's got something in his hands that appears to be red. Some people are saying that is like a red button. I'm not sure, but the bigger you go, the less you can see. So I think in some respects, there is some actual messaging here. I'm going to tell you what my thoughts are on it, but first, I'll tell you what other people are saying. Some people are saying This is sending messages to people in the, the Q movement. And there's no question in my mind at this point that Trump definitely plays with the minds of people who are Q followers. Although I don't think Q is as active as it used to be. I think there are some fake Q things going on. I don't really partake in the Q madness, which is also rooted in some truth because Trump feeds it. The colors of ties that he wears, some of the actions, some of the things he says, I know that he is aware, and he is definitely screwing with people's minds and sending messages to Q followers because he knows what he has to say, what he has to do in order to trigger a response from them or send them messaging to fuel that whole, whatever you want to call it. You want to call it a conspiracy, a psyop, whatever you want to call it, okay? But he's aware, and he's exploiting it, using it. He knows that a portion of his base is, of course, right in with the Q movement and diehards. So this image very much, it could very well be part of sending some messaging to that end of things. But more than that, well, I'll tell you what, let's go here and just look at what the other media is saying about it at this hour, because this is changing from minute to minute, really, the way it's being interpreted, new information coming out. Many people running the image, that particular image, through artificial intelligence and image enhancers in an attempt to decipher what is actually in there. It is Trump at his desk, no question about it. Some people posting stuff saying there's somebody standing beside him. I don't see that when I decode the image by shrinking it down. Let's take a look here. Let's go to the New York Post. They've been covering this. We'll get their perspective right there. I believe this is the story. White House leaves social media users befuddled by pair of cryptic videos. The Trump White House left social media users confused Wednesday night when it posted a pair of bizarre videos on its official X and Instagram accounts, later deleting one. The first clip, later scrubbed, was posted around 9:15 p.m. Eastern Time and showed a pair of someone's black pointed toe boots. A woman's voice could be heard asking, "It's launching soon, right?" A line of text on the video read, "Sound on." And the second video, posted at 10 p.m., still up, depicted a black screen with a single iPhone text message notification chime sounded. An American flag could briefly be seen in one frame. The post included emojis of a smartphone and speaker playing sound. And scroll down. Do they have... White House did not immediately respond to a request for further comment or explanation. So we've got a quote here from National Review senior writer Noah Rothman, who says this communications strategy is inscrutable and obnoxious, and it's not reassuring anyone. You guys know we're at war, right? He goes on and says there have to be at least a handful of people around over the age of 25 that you can run this stuff by first. That is where the heaviest criticism is focused is, hey, we're at war. You should be more responsible about what you're posting, especially saying things like, it's launching soon, right? Now, I don't think anybody who is a serious human being in any country, including Iran, is going to take that as an indication that nukes are about to launch. No indication that they were referring to nuclear weapons in the post. Nevertheless, it certainly scares people. Other reaction here. Also from the National Review, his colleague Jeff Blahar saying, always great when the White House official account starts posting creepy snatches of video like their outtakes from The Ring. Next one will just be a child's voice whispering 7 days. And this quote here saying, this is psychotic behavior, posted U.S. military veteran John Jackson, a critic of the administration. We are in a major conflict and they are vague posting War of the Worlds slop. What is the F is this supposed to mean? Many others speculated the videos were some sort of coded message to the people of Iran, a warning of a tactical nuclear strike, or an announcement about alien activity. That's how crazy this stuff is. Yeah, I think that it is irresponsible. I think it's weird. I laughed when I saw it. I couldn't take it seriously, except that it is in itself a message. The medium has become the message, as Marshall McLuhan says, or has, used to say. What do I mean? They're messing with people's minds. The Trump administration has relied on a giant psyop to get where it is. I talked about this last night. They're turning people into drones. Scaring people, using fear, manipulating you through your emotions, making you wonder what the hell is going on. And it's gotten to the point now where they have so much power, so much leverage, and they're so fixated on everything that Donald Trump does. If he sneezes, it makes a headline. So we're like putty in his hands, and certainly in the hands of his propagandists. So fixated on him are we, that when they post even nonsensical videos and images on the official White House account that really mean sort of nothing, the people are fixated on it, and then we end up talking about that. Talk about a distraction. Are we talking tonight about the Epstein files? Nope. Are we talking about this instead of all those young men and women on their way to the Middle East? We did, but not that much. We're talking about nonsensical, crazy, weird videos with no clear message posted on the White House Twitter account, where a social media platform is being used as one of the official methods of communication with the public. It's a game. Excuse my language, but this is nothing but a mind fuck. Ever since he came down that escalator, that's what's been going on. A giant, excuse my language, but this is accurate, okay, because this is what it is. It's a giant mind fuck. It's gross. It's irresponsible and extremely effective. Look at what they have done with this. Last I checked, that pixelated photo had generated almost 5 million views just on Twitter. That doesn't include all the people who have seen it through shares and, people who have copied it and then manipulated it and posted it online, who have made memes out of it. It puts him back into the news cycle for at least another 24 hours over nothing. That's why I initially had this set up as the lead story for tonight, which maybe it should be, but at the same time I was like, no, in fact, I'm not going to talk about this at all, because that's what he wants. He just wants attention. They want you focused on this, so we don't talk about that. They want you focused on a nothing thing, which is nothing. It's just digital ether. So we don't pay attention to what is really serious and what is really going on, which is that the U.S. economy is actually in trouble. Inflation is on the rise, even though he says otherwise. He lies about everything. You've got a serious war in Ukraine, which has fallen off the radar for people. You have destabilization across Europe. You have this major war now in Iran, where we were promised that there would be no boots on the ground. We were promised before the whole thing began that he wouldn't get the United States involved in a war like this, and here we are. And the thing about this, and this is why I keep saying we are at war, because even though the Allies came out of the box on this one, and when he came to Starmer, when he didn't even come to Canada because he's got other plans for us, but when he went to the Allies, they said no. But what do you have now? You do have ships from allied nations in the region now already, don't you? Yeah, you do. Because the thing is, it doesn't matter whether the reason for this what is virtuous, legal. It doesn't matter, because now we're in, because of what he has done. And he doesn't have many options. I don't think he really wants boots on the ground in there, because he knows that's going to get messy. The more body bags that come home, the more his popularity drops. But it didn't go the way he was planning. Now he's flailing in the wind. He doesn't know what to do. He didn't really have plan B. So now you've got troops going to the area where he's, I think, hoping that the threat will bring, just the escalation and threat will bring an end to it. And he keeps talking out. But where's it going? Don't really know. I just know this. You've got a lot of pissed off Iranians. Not just the regime, not just the remaining leadership, which still tonight seems to be firmly still in control. You have a lot of pissed off Iranians, because even the people that Trump said he was going to protect and back up, when they went out into the streets responding to the messaging coming from Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, who hijacked at one point Iranian television to get their message out to people, saying, rise up, overthrow your government. We'll be there to support you. And then they didn't support them, and the people got massacred in the streets. Now they're being bombed because this plan was so poorly thought out. And while the military has done its job with precision and executed it professionally following orders, the orders have been a blunder. Legally, diplomatically, strategically, it's left the United States in a vulnerable position. They've made everything worse. You have basically poked a hornet's nest after pissing the hornets off, and now they want revenge. As a result, it doesn't matter why this war is happening. One way or another, the traditional allies of the United States, Western countries, will be compelled, forced basically into this conflict if it continues to escalate, because the entire Western economy depends on keeping that strait open. You can't give it up. And going into war is a very serious thing. It's not a game, but Donald Trump, not mature enough or intelligent enough to see, and just full of way too much hubris to see where this was really going to go. What choice do we have now? it would be better. And I think that the allied nations are looking for legal justification to get involved if necessary. They just don't want to do it in a way that would leave them, the leaders of these other countries, leave them open to a potential war crimes trial, especially Canada, which is not exempt from the ICC or the ICJ or the UN, or, we actually participate. The United States, however, gets that exemption, right? And as the superpower, they don't have to. They can just, I guess, do whatever they want to do. Maybe Trump is right. But we're going in. Looks like we're going in. So even though Trump keeps saying that these negotiations are ongoing, the troops are still on their way, the escalation continues, this is not over. And I don't believe him. I don't believe either side. There's no way to know for sure what the hell is going on. Terrible. Now, overnight, my good friend Maureen sent me an email message. And she sent me something that really got me thinking. And this is going to get us to the end of the broadcast now. And the clarification in the last frame of video that I want to share with you tonight. So stay with me. We're going to take a little break, come back. I'm going to get that all set up for you. And I'll explain what that's all about, because I think it's the most important part of the whole broadcast again.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
The information war is raging. Truth without integrity is worth nothing. Maverick News. Because those who have power and those who seek it must be held accountable.
The world is watching.
Join our family of truth seekers. Donate today and add your voice to the chorus of Maverick Knights. Donate at maverickdonations.com. Truth. Integrity. It's the Maverick way. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So Maureen sent me this message. Actually, she was helpful to me, because I said last night that the night before had left me feeling kind of empty inside. She gave me some inspiration, right? So I appreciate that very much. But she also brought up a poem. She couldn't quite remember what it was. And what it is because she was just talking about how none of this makes sense. Not just the war, but I think everything in general that we've been through, especially since the pandemic and now leading into this war. Funny, I said to my wife when the pandemic first broke out, I said, you know what? We're going to war. That was a long time ago. I've been sitting in this chair ever since, and here we are. We're going to war. We've been at war. But the poem that Maureen was referring to, couldn't quite remember, Dulce et Decorum Est by Wilfred Owen, written in October of 1917. Soldier. But before he was a soldier, he was a poet. Went to war as a young man. And through his poetry, he was able to give us words that still echo through time and help us put things in perspective, I think. He sent this poem to his mother. With a note, he said, here is a gas poem done yesterday, which is not private, but not final. The poem was completed some days later, so the version she got was an initial draft, I guess. But in any event, we're going to present that for you here tonight. Because he revised it. But it still resonates through history. And some of the language in it makes reference to, why do we go to war? What is it that compels young men and young women to enlist? Well, there's a quote in there off the top of this video that I've prepared tonight with a quote from Horace. Talks about dying for your country. And I don't know if any of that makes any sense either, especially when I hear rhetoric, propaganda coming out of the mouth of J.D. Vance talking about what happens if they get a nuclear vest and they could come out and jump out from behind a bush and the next thing you know, they'll blow themselves up and destroy an entire city with a nuclear vest that doesn't exist yet, but oh my God. Iran, anybody? Or Iraq? Or, yeah, that's the other thing. People don't even know whether they're going to war. I saw a thing with Fox News. You know, the guy who does the Jesse Waters shtick where he does the person on the street interviews, went to spring break asking the young people there about the war in Iran, and they kept calling it Iraq. And had never heard of the Ayatollah. Had never heard the word Ayatollah. Like they're clueless. These are kids in Ivy League schools, many of them. Yeah, it's disturbing, and it's about manufacturing consent, getting people to sign up, getting the country, getting the population behind the war effort. But more than that, the PSYOP, the psychological warfare, it's sophisticated today. I keep telling you, they keep screwing with us. That's what that image of Trump is all about. They don't want you to know why you're going to war. You're not supposed to care. They're just getting you scared so you don't think about it. That quote from Horace, it is sweet and fitting to die for one's country. The full excerpt is, it's sweet and fitting to die for one's country, yet death chases after the soldier who runs, and it won't spare the cowardly back or the limbs of peace-loving young men. Wilfred Owen uses that as inspiration in Dulce et Decorum Est. You want to know why we're going to war in Iran? The video, it really does tell you why. That image that you are having trouble deciphering, it's all in there. The messaging is all in there. The only thing is, I don't think we're supposed to really know. I'll leave you with this tonight. Wait till the end. Wait until the end. And then I will see you tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern on the flip side. This is Mark Smith narrating the poem.
Bent double, like old beggars under sacks, knock-kneed, coughing like hags, we cursed through sludge, till on the haunting flares we turned our backs, and towards our distant rest began to trudge. Men marched asleep. Many had lost their boots, but limped on, bloodshod. All went lame, all blind, drunk with fatigue, deaf even to the hoots of gas shells dropping softly behind. Gas! Gas! Quick, boys! An ecstasy of fumbling, fitting the clumsy helmets just in time. But someone still was yelling out and stumbling and floundering like a man in fire or lime, dim through the misty panes and thick green light, as under a green sea I saw him drowning. In all my dreams before my helpless sight, he plunges at me, guttering, choking, drowning. If in some smothering dreams you too could pace behind the wagon that we flung him in, and watch the white eyes writhing in his face, his hanging face, like a devil's sick of sin, if you could hear at every jolt the blood come gargling from the froth-corrupted lungs, obscene as cancer, bitter as the cud of vile incurable sores on innocent tongues, my friend, you would not tell with such high zest to children ardent for some desperate glory the old lie, dulce et decorum est, po patria mori.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.